Yeah, hello again. Yeah, I know it's theatrics, but hey, it's kind of what we try to do. Have a little bit of variety, a little different variation on the subject and the topic of the day. Each blog should not be a carbon copy of the previous blog, or maybe it should. Depends on how you look at it. Because I've noticed a few of those that seem to get by with that. I'm not one of those few. You know, light? Too much light? Yeah, I think it's too much light. Parking lot at my job where I work at. Park this RV during the day when I'm not taking it out to my mother's house. Got a car here, so a little while here we'll pack up and drive out to mom's for the afternoon. I work this evening. Been a short week between the holiday, and there just wasn't a lot of jobs to be serviced this week. So if I'm lucky, I'll get 20 hours. So I'm going to spend my time, making videos and watching loads of other videos. And I just finished doing one called The Darker Side of the Hobby. And I was watching these other videos, and I watched about 10 or 12 of them yesterday while I was between that and watching the various Facebook forums, which I like to put my 2 cents worth in, try to sound like I'm intelligent, not some goofy, goober. Uh, Topic here is collecting versus playing, and I think I don't remember exactly who it was, whose vlog it was. I was watching that brought up the subject or mentioned it vaguely, and I got thinking about, you know, so many people go out and they want to play something, they want to play a game, and they find other people, they watch other people playing it, and they like that, or they listen to somebody on the Facebook forum, for example, going on about, hey, I got this, and this is great. It just came out. I unboxed it, and you too should have this now, like some weird info commercial. And I'm thinking, they went out. Little boy says, "Oh, they bought it. They said it. Now it sits there and stare, and it sits there on their table, and they stare at it, and they admire it, and they think about it, and they make plans, and even maybe occasionally put some stuff down on paper, make characters, that sort of thing, trying to work themselves up to finding a group of people to play it with, or." But in the end, they don't. And I guess, what do? You stick it up on a shelf alongside the rest of the stuff, and the next one comes along. So, what do we do? Some of us more enthusiastic oddballs start doing, hey, look at my video review of this. This is mostly to tell you, I got this, and I like, on and on and on. Well, come on. How many of us have done that? And how many people out there, how many can you go out and find? Pick a game, pick a particular part of that game, and then Google it on YouTube and see what happens. You probably find a half dozen or a dozen people have reviewed their opinion of it. And that's part of the nature, part of the game, right? Part of the hobby, and the enthusiasm, and that's a good thing. Um, and then I put an entry in the RPG Brigade's forum the other day, and I had a guy come back, and he was quite emphatic that unlike the majority, he doesn't collect. Now, if he buys a game system, he plays it until he's tired of it, then he gets rid of it. He sells it, he gives it away, and he gets something else. He's not a collector. And I thought that struck a chord with me. I mean, it's how many guys do that? How many people are actually that way? I know a couple. I've known a couple, mostly because they don't have that. I don't know, that need to keep things. They don't have that hoarder mindset. And any kind of collection is a bit of hoarding going on. It's a hoarder's whatever. It's just tidier, you know. And I've got boxes and boxes of stuff sitting out in mom's garage, so I know this. I know. I'm experienced with it. And God bless that guy. I mean, you know what? Um, I don't think I've ever given anything away. I've sold a few things, and for the most part, though, I've kept everything. And even if I haven't played something for 30 years, I still have it. I still have it. I still see it on the shelf. I still get, you know, protective of it because the shelf would look the bookcase would look strange without that particular material sitting in that particular location. One of the few things in my life that I'm really organized about, and even then I'm not that organized about it because I've got a whole cabinet full of stuff here that I've been bringing out a little at a time. Some to review, some of it just to do some, fumbling through to bring myself back up to speed. You know, okay. So I collect. Yeah, I collect because, well, you know, here's an argument I've used for years to people. I've gone to the bookstore and you go into the game store. What do you find? You find 20 or 30 game systems. Half of them are current, maybe five or the hot thing at the moment, and it's the Ford versus Chevy. I can't afford to have both a Ford and a Chevy, so what do? I'm going to select the particular one I like, and I'm going to run with it. And then, because I have this mindset, this collector mindset, I buy everything that comes out in that set, in that series, as often as I can. Now, there's always the occasional miss. Sometimes the things will come out and I don't have the money for them, or it'll get to the tail end of this and I'll become interested in a new series, and I won't be buying the old stuff as much as I did before because I'm not using it no more. So, like, other than the fact that I like to read it, that's how I got into BattleTech's MechWarrior stuff. I've got a load of that stuff, and for a tabletop war game, it's not necessary. You don't need all these source books. You just don't. You need the core gaming rules and a lot of maps and markers or miniatures to represent the mechs, right? On the other hand, the MechWarrior side of things was to be the RPG version of to try to draw in a wider audience, and it worked to some effect. But most of the material in it is more of a storyline based kind of thing because the rules themselves are chunky and vaguey. So, you know, and I never really played much in the MechWarrior side of things. I ran one or two games, but they were short lived. They just didn't have. You have to have a dedicated group of players that really like the genre, the BattleTech MechWarrior. And when you got tabletop war gamers, well, you spend most of your time doing that and not role playing it. On the other hand, when I bought Shadowrun. Shadowrun is colorful and full of depth and lots of good stuff in there. Once again, the game mechanics for the system itself is a bit thin, you know, compared to D&D. If your D&D is mechanic heavy, I don't care what anybody tells you. You can use it on, mechanic light. You can rules light, if you will, and because you choose as the moderator what to apply and what not to apply, and how many levels thereof. So if you want to go into more depth, it's there. That's the advantage. That's what I liked about it. I don't have to make too many. I don't have to have a notebook full of house rules trying to fill in the gaps because they've got 50 years, 40 years of filling in the gaps for us. And that's because we help do that for them. That's where Dungeon and Dragon magazine and a number of others came out. That was the whole purpose, the sole purpose of those, other than feeding the addiction, keeping the interest up, but was to give a public forum for the enthusiasts such as ourselves to put our 2 cents in. That was before this stuff here came out, before we could come online and do it personally in our millions. So, you know, versus collecting versus playing. And I'd love to play everything I got. If I could find other players, other gamers who had the stuff. And on the other hand, I'm not overly keen on loaning out my $500 worth of $600 worth of Shadowrun books to somebody else to say, here, now you can run the next campaign. You'd have to be. I don't think you could be a good enough friend for me to do that. I have maybe two friends that unfortunately don't live near here. They live a long way from here. They're One of them's intending to move to Des Moines sometime in the next couple of years once his situation allows him to. Life interferes, so he may never come down here. I miss him. He's a good guy. And I got another one. He's kind of sitting in a situation. He has to wait for it to clear up till he can go home. He would be closer, but who knows? Life is life, and we have responsibilities. And sometimes old groups just don't ever get back together again. I'm looking forward to the ability maybe of getting them together on via Skype. I guess I haven't yet figured out how Skype works. That shows you how backwards I am at times. I do understand how the email works, and I can run some pretty decent games. They call it turn-based stuff that way. Makes for good storyline. It's actually easier to make a actual book-like story played that way than trying to do it around the table. And you don't have to load it up on the mechanic rolls, but it's still there. I collected stuff because I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's like reading novels. I don't. The argument, I go down to a library and check out a book and read it once and put it back, and that's great because that's what the libraries are for. I'm not, support your local libraries, but I always bought something because I enjoyed it. If I bought the novels because I intended to read it more than once, and I have very few novels that I haven't read 2 or 3 times. If you average a book a week, whether it's the same book or not, you average a book a week. I figure I've read in excess of 3 or 4 thousand books over my lifetime, and I that's a lot, and it's not a lot depending on who you argue with. I don't know if anybody's read 15,000 books unless they're 100 years old, and even then I still kind of really, because if you do one a week, what is that? 52 a year. So how many game books do I have? If I go back and I review them and I read them again, I spend a week at it. I'm only going to do 50 in a year, and I got a lot more than that sitting on the shelf. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, right? Okay, and then we're not even talking the novels. So, so I collected them, and I collected them because I want to come back later at some point. It's like the games. Just because I stopped playing a particular game system 20 years ago doesn't mean that I may not be willing to play it again in 20 years. When I've retired from whatever job I got at that time, and I'm looking at some group of people my own age who are now are other than sitting around and griping about our aches and pains and our medical and our doctors. This would be one of those things where we can get together a couple times a week, and in lieu of the golf. I don't golf. I'm not gonna sit around watching football, so I can get along with get a group of elderly folks of my own age to sit around and play some gaming. Hey, I can drag out this entire system and reintroduce it. Beautiful thing is, a lot of these people in my own age bracket, they know this stuff. They know it. They may have played it once or twice. They may have owned it themselves. May still own it. There's the advantage of collecting, right? Well, the advantage of playing, of course, is playing, enjoying the game, enjoying the subject material, enjoying the books that we acquired that we spent so much money and time on. Will I buy an entire system and play it and then give it up and sell it or give it away and buy the next one? I can't. I don't see the need to do that. I could, I suppose. I mean, but I don't think it's in my nature to do that. It's not. It's the hoarder nature. I want this stuff. This is. I give away a lot of things. I've had other hobbies that I got into and then decided enough was enough. I had a huge Star Wars Lego collection, and I was in a spot where I needed some money 6 months ago, so I put it up on Craigslist and sold it. Didn't make nearly as much money from it from what I paid for it over the years, but I didn't really want to let it go, but I needed the money. But what else? A guy come along and says, "Well, what would you give me for that set of that particular game system?" Or what would you let me, buy it from you? And no, I'll go clean grease traps for a living and drive a rickety old POS pumper truck that's about ready to roll over and die. Sorry, I'll clean, but that's what I'm doing at the moment until I can find a better job because there's no benefits and the scheduling is insane. 20-hour work week. Come on. Anyway, are you the collector or are you the player? I'd like to know that. I'd be interested in hearing it. How many of you guys find yourself bigger on the collector side? The scholar, the gaming scholar, as opposed to the gaming enthusiast, the player who would rather have one or two books and let the other guy do the legwork. I'd also say if you're interested in what I'm saying, they are rambling and rantings and seemingly non make sense kind of stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends, tell your buddies. You think I'm funny or you think I'm stupid? Tell them anyway. Come to see it. Come visit. Come view the vlog. Right? How does it work? Like it? Don't like it? Yeah. Until another time. Keep the dust off the shelf.